Around 4:30 p.m. on June 14, 2020, the Washougal police responded to a call and discovered an elderly woman who had died laying on her bed in her home in Washougal, Washington. The woman was 71-year-old Sandra Ladd. The medical examiner discovered many stab wounds to her torso, leading the police to declare her death as a homicide.
Found dead inside her home on 41st Street in Washougal back in mid-June. Detectives haven't said much other than she died of homicidal violence.
Just kind of the randomness of it doesn't really match, kind of what we thought of, of her.
Ladd worked for the Washougal School District for more than 25 years. She wore many hats, including elementary school secretary and administrative assistant to the superintendent.
She was very dedicated to her work. She was a very, very hard worker. She worked a lot of late nights.
As dependable as she was at work, Brown says she was even more so at home.
She worked super hard to provide for her kids and to make sure that they got all the opportunities and education that they were able to pursue.
Brown says Ladd's death has taken a toll on her children and grandchildren.
It's just hard to imagine that something like this could have happened to her.
Even more difficult to imagine, the case going unsolved, as it has up until this point. No doubt unsettling for the small town of Washougal.
It's just a really dark cloud, and it would be, I think it would bring closure for a lot of people if they knew that the person who did this to her had been, dealt with.
All right, Crime Stoppers is offering a cash reward of up to $2,500 for information that leads to an arrest in this case. Remember, tips can remain anonymous. Needless to say, Sandra Ladd's family and friends would really appreciate the help.
It was speculated before Brian was caught and after he had been caught if the person responsible for the November 13, 2022 Idaho 4 murders was responsible for 2 other murders which occurred only 1 and 2 years prior because they were considered similar, as both victims in those 2 cases were stabbed to death. 26-year-old Travis Juton was stabbed to death around 3 a.m. on August 13, 2021 in Silverton, Oregon after an intruder entered his and his wife's home. His wife was stabbed 19 times but miraculously survived. Just a year prior, on June 14, 2020 in Washougal, Washington, 71-year-old Sandra Ladd was found stabbed to death laying in her bed. The exact time of Sandra Ladd's murder, however, has not been released to the public. The Moscow police seem to have ruled out a connection to the Sandra Ladd case, perhaps because Brian was studying at DeSales University at the time in Pennsylvania, and they also ruled out a connection to Brian to Travis Juton's murder, perhaps because of forensic indifferences and an alibi. Even though Brian Koberger is not connected, it still could be possible that the same unknown killer is connected to both the Travis Juton and Sandra Ladd murder cases, as the distance between both incidents is only 1 hour and 58 miles by vehicle. The killer might still be out there looking for new victims.